Hello everyone, so we're going to kick off today's show with one of my handy hints features. So this one, I know sometimes we have a little joke at the beginning of my videos, but this is a serious handy hint that could actually be useful in real life. Trying to kind of compete here with Jeremy Fragrance, who gives us, a bit more than just the fragrances, dating, lifestyle tips, and this is one for all you young men out there, well, men of any age. If we're living as a bachelor on our own, sometimes we're not too hot on doing the washing of our clothes and getting that all done on time. So quite often I found myself in the situation, I'm sure some of you have too, where we're running a little bit low on underwear. Maybe we've managed to get that wash in, but we've got a big night out, something we need to go and wear underpants for, which is most situations, hopefully, and the pants, maybe they're washed, but they've just come out of the washing machine. They're not going to be dry in time. What are you going to do? Well, here's a handy hint. Turn on your gas oven for a few minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes at fairly high heat, and then turn it straight off again. Then put your underpants on the top shelf of the oven. Don't do this with the oven actually on, as there is a risk of death, but with the oven off it'll be fine, and the heat's going to stay in there for a while. It's the best, quickest dryer you've ever known in your life, and your underpants will come out nice and crisp and dry, ready to wear, with maybe a faint smell of Findus crispy pancakes, but worth paying that price to have fresh underpants for your night out. Try it, guys, and let me know what you think of that tip. Hello everyone, so today we're going to be taking a look at Dior Homme Sport, the 2017 reissue and reformulation of this fragrance. So they brought out a new version, and the new one has a slightly taller, thinner looking bottle, whereas the old bottle was a little bit more stocky and squat looking. And the notes have changed a little bit on this one, so they've released it with the claim that they're updating it and modernising it for the modern era, and they're definitely making some fanfare about the reformulation. So their new strategy, I think, Dior, is to tell us when they're reformulating things, because they did the same thing with Dior Eau Sauvage Parfum, which has been re-released in April of this year, 2017, and a new formula has been brought out. So Dior are describing the new edition of Dior Homme Sport as an olfactory trompe-l'oeil, a long-lasting sensation of freshness, juicy, vibrant top notes, prolonged by spicy accents set against a sexy woody base, citron, nutmeg and sandalwood. That's what it says on the sample card. The notes officially are, in the top, grapefruit, blood orange and lemon. In the mid we have pink pepper and nutmeg, and in the base we have vetiver and sandalwood. So how does it smell? Let's find out. I'm going to spray a bit on here. I've been trying it over the last week or so, actually. I've tried some in the shops, and I got hold of the sample a couple of days ago. So let's see what I think. Okay, well, a really nice, pleasant, fresh, citrusy opening on this one, which is very enjoyable. And words that spring to mind here, one word that springs to mind is smooth. Some of the recent releases, like Bulgari's Aqua Atlantique, have a quite sharp citrus opening, which can be a good thing. This one is more smooth. There's certainly none of that ambroxan that we see in a lot of modern fragrances and that we had in Dior Sauvage. And also there isn't the iris note that we find in Dior Homme and in the previous versions of Dior Homme Sport. The 2012 version was the second formulation. I haven't experienced the first one, but the 2012 one, whilst being a fresh, sporty fragrance, did have a notable note of iris, tying it in with the original Dior Homme Sport, where that note of iris, which gives a somewhat lipstick-like vibe, was one of the defining features of the line. So this one, well, there's a certain smoothness about it. There could be a touch of iris in there somewhere, but it's not really jumping out at all, so it's certainly not listed in the notes. So that's gone. What's it been replaced with? Well, we've got pink pepper and nutmeg in there, and in the base vetiver and sandalwood. So sandalwood can give a slightly creamy woody feel, and that is indeed what I've got from this one as I've worn it and tried it out over the last couple of days. Very pleasant, fresh, citrus, smooth opening. Tiny bit of sweetness and spiciness coming from the nutmeg and the pink pepper, and a creamy, woody, masculine dry down. So the good news on this one is there's very little that anyone could dislike in this fragrance. So it's very pleasant, very wearable, and I think if Dior were looking to make a sports fragrance that would be more typical of a sports fragrance, that is just fresh, maybe a little bit woody, soapy, masculine, then that's what they've achieved here. It's lacking the uniqueness of the other versions of Dior Homme Sport, which had the iris note. So from a fragrance aficionado point of view, that could be a step backwards. And does make it less interesting than the previous versions of Dior Homme Sport. If you are just an ordinary person looking for a lovely fresh fragrance that's going to be well liked by other people, then this one is going to fit the bill very nicely indeed. Performance so far in my limited testing has seemed reasonably good, about in the average category. So decent, okay, certainly not very strong or beast mode, but not really poor either. So it's a fairly average performing scent. It would be extremely appropriate for all kinds of different situations. You could easily wear this to work. I think with fresh fragrances you can wear them all round, particularly in the daytime when you don't need your fragrance to jump out and be noticed that much. You may not even want it to be if you're at work. So great choice for a signature scent for work. Nights out too, particularly in warmer seasons, it will be a nice fresh choice. Great for a date, and it's clearly aimed at younger people. The advert there's got people playing basketball and that kind of thing. So it's aimed at people maybe mostly in their 20s, maybe even the teens getting into fragrances. Of course, people in their 30s and 40s can wear it too. It's not a clubbing style scent, so there's no reason why someone, even as old as me, 40 and upwards, couldn't wear and enjoy this one. Limitations on this one is it's not wildly exciting. It could even be described as boring and generic by some people. It's a good quality, fresh citrus fragrance. I enjoy it, but it is nothing special, and it is not a million miles away from many of the other options out there. Chanel's or Dior Homme Sport, that's been out for years and years, would serve a similar purpose. It's actually very similar in my recollection to Dior Homme Cologne, which is another citrus-based flanker of the original Dior Homme. So I wonder if this is going to replace that. I don't know what's happening with that one. That one I think does have a little bit more of the iris still in there, so this could be argued even less interesting than Dior Homme Cologne, which is a rather nice fresh citrus summery scent. If I was saying to people, if I was to try and recommend an alternative to Dior Homme Sport for someone looking for a fresh citrus masculine scent, I would probably go with Bulgari Aqua Amara, which I prefer. Has another smooth citrus opening, very, very pleasant, some woodiness, but a bit more depth and guts to it than Dior Homme Sport. Mark-wise, I would give this new formulation of Dior Homme Sport a 7.5. I'll give it 7.5, so just above for me Dior Sauvage, which I gave a 7, and which I just find there's something a little bit not totally to my liking, the ambroxan metallic note in that one. So I perhaps slightly prefer Dior Homme Sport to that one, although the performance on Dior Sauvage is so good that in terms of recommendability it could be a little higher than this, because it does leap out and perform, will get you noticed. Dior Sauvage, probably more so than this one, but I prefer the scent on this one. So I'm going to go with a 7.5 mark out of 10 for Dior Homme Sport. Perfectly pleasant, nothing to get excited about, very recommendable as a great all-rounder, but there are more interesting choices and better choices and even less expensive ones in a similar category to which you might want to check out. So that's my verdict on this one. I don't think I'll be rushing out to buy a bottle, but you should definitely try it and see what you think for yourselves. Let me know in the comments what you think. Have you tried it? How does it compare to the other versions or other alternative sports style or citrus scents? Don't forget, whatever you're doing in life, let's project, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.